Buster Keaton wasn't just a comedian, he was a pioneer, a daredevil, and an artist who shaped the very essence of cinematic humor. With a stone-faced expression and incredible physical agility, Keaton was a master of visual comedy, pushing the boundaries of what was considered possible on screen. Hi everyone, Ken here. Today we are uncovering the many mansions of Buster Keaton. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. Born in 1895, Buster Keaton grew up in the world of vaudeville, learning the art of comedy through experience, often at the hands of his father, Joe Keaton, who incorporated his young son into a slapstick act. The family act, known as the Three Keatons, was centered on the rough-and-tumble antics between father and son. Buster was tossed around the stage, slammed into scenery, and thrown into the audience, much to the delight of spectators. Despite the physical nature of the act, Keaton was rarely injured. His secret? He had a remarkable knack for falling just right, and that talent would serve him well in the years to come. By the time he was a teenager, Keaton had perfected his trademark deadpan expression, known to the audience as the Great Stone Face. The less he reacted, the more people laughed. It was a valuable lesson in the power of subtlety and timing, two things that would become hallmarks of his later films. In 1917, Keaton's life took a fateful turn when he met Roscoe Arbuckle, one of the biggest stars of silent comedy at the time. Arbuckle invited Keaton to join him in making short films, and Buster's transition to the silver screen was instantaneous. His first film, The Butcher's Boy, was a hit, and Keaton quickly became Arbuckle's right-hand man, both in front of and behind the camera. What set Keaton apart was his technical curiosity. He wasn't content to just perform, he wanted to understand the mechanics of filmmaking. He would spend hours studying cameras, learning how to create visual effects, and execute daring stunts that would become the centerpiece of his later work. In a time when filmmaking was still in its infancy, Keaton was already thinking ahead, experimenting with the medium in ways that no one else had. Fast forwarding, the 1920s would become the height of Keaton's career. Now working independently, he created some of the most iconic films of the silent era. He had a rare combination of talents. Not only was he a brilliant physical comedian, but he was also an innovative director. His short films, like 1 Week and Cops, were filled with inventive gags, clever endings, and stunts that seemed to defy the laws of physics. But it was his feature-length films that truly cemented his legacy. Sherlock Jr. and The General are now regarded as masterpieces, showcasing Keaton's fearless approach to both comedy and action. In The General, Keaton's love for trains and precision choreography culminated in one of the most iconic scenes in film history, where a real locomotive crashes through a burning bridge. The scale of these stunts was unparalleled, and the danger was very real, but Keaton's deadpan expression never wavered. With so much success, you would think that he would have been having the time of his life, but there was one major mistake he had made that was dragging him down. Back in 1921, he had married silent film star Natalie Tage, who was widely known as a diva, to put it politely. She came from a family of movie stars and was irrationally competitive with her sisters, but we'll get to that in a moment. Following their marriage, the couple rented number 59 Westmoreland Place in Los Angeles, a charming Tudor revival mansion which had been built a decade earlier in 1909. While not many photos of the house were ever taken, Buster Keaton did use the home as a filming location for The Electric House. While the interior of the home was doctored with special effects, what you are seeing here is exactly how the stair hall appeared while he lived here, minus the escalator part. Even the pool that Keaton splashes into was actually in the backyard. Back in the stair hall, a pair of pocket doors to the right-hand side of the staircase will lead us into the billiards room. The billiards room doubles as the library with built-in bookshelves and rich wood paneling. The film is rather amusing as it showcases some practical and nonsensical inventions in this room, but gimmicks aside, this is his furniture and how his house was styled. Going back into the stair hall, we'll travel through the pocket doors opposite the billiards room to find the dining room. Comically, guests are presented their dinners on a rotating toy train track which supposedly comes from the kitchen. Of course, at this point in his career, the live-in servants would have brought each course to the table, hopefully avoiding mishaps like this. Even though the kitchen has been fashioned with a prop conveyor belt over the countertops, this one detail aside, we get a really good look at how kitchens in this time period were used, though hopefully his cats did not play a part in food prep. Upstairs we are invited to see the Keaton's bedroom and ensuite. And while the tub would have been stationary, he really did have a Murphy bed, though it wasn't known to fold itself away while his wife sat on it. The Electric House is available for viewing in 4K quality on our members page if you want to see more. But getting back to it, from here the couple went on to purchase a house on South Ardmore in Los Angeles, but sold it after living there only for 10 months. They decided to head up to Muirfield Road and purchase another house, which they didn't stay in for long either. All the while, Buster secretly began construction on a lavish Beverly Hills mansion to surprise his wife. Even though the estate boasted over 10,000 square feet, his wife refused to move in, comparing it to her sister's houses and saying it was too small and didn't have enough space for live-in servants. They never did move in, and eventually Buster begrudgingly sold his estate, which was probably for the best because Keaton's meteoric rise came crashing down in the late 1920s when he made what he would later call the worst decision of his life, signing with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. At MGM, Keaton lost the creative freedom that had been the cornerstone of his success. The studio's strict control meant that Keaton no longer had the ability to direct his own films or conceive his own gags. The physical comedy and intricate stunts that had defined his career were replaced by formulaic plots and sound stages that stifled his creative genius. Compounding this professional struggle with his personal life, his marriage was falling apart and the stress led Keaton down a path of heavy drinking. By 1933, he had not only lost his contract with MGM, but was also embroiled in a messy divorce that left him emotionally and financially drained. For many, this would have been the end of the road, but Keaton wasn't done yet. After years of battling alcoholism and navigating the challenges of Hollywood, he found his way back to work in the 1940s. He remarried into a love-filled relationship with Eleanor Keaton, found sobriety, and began making a comeback, not as a leading man, but as a respected figure in the world of comedy. During the later years of his career, Keaton made guest appearances in movies and became a beloved fixture on television. Though the days of elaborate stunts were behind him, Keaton still possessed the same quiet genius that had captivated audiences in his youth. In 1956, without his pretentious ex-wife, he and Eleanor purchased a comfortable house where they could grow old together and enjoy each other's company and their many hobbies. Buster Keaton died in 1966, but his influence never faded. His films remain as evidence to his artistry and innovation. Directors like Orson Welles, Mel Brooks, and Woody Allen have praised Keaton as one of the greatest filmmakers in history, and his daring stunts continue to inspire action and comedy films alike. Buster Keaton's career was filled with highs and lows, but his determination to keep moving forward, to keep finding the humor in even the toughest situations, is what made him an icon. His work is a masterclass in the power of visual storytelling, proving that sometimes the biggest laughs come from the smallest gestures and the quietest moments. Thank you all for joining me on this cinematic adventure. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments section, and while you're there, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an exciting episode of This House.